Hello and welcome back to Drawing with Mrs. Mills. Today I want to walk you through one way that I use colored pencils. And what I'm going to do is focus on drawing one grape for you today. So as you can see here, I'm sketching in my first grape that I'm going to work on. And I do have this sped up a little bit because I don't think you want to spend 20 minutes watching me do this. So this is about twice speed. But I start with a really light pencil drawing and I'm sketching in where the highlights are so I know not to color there with my colored pencils. For this video, I'm just going to work on one grape. Normally that's not how I would work. I would work on multiple different things at once in the drawing. I wouldn't just get that one grape perfect. But I'm just going to work on this one. And I'm going to show you how I blend the colors, starting with some red, and then I'm looking at what I'm drawing and trying to find the dark areas and the light areas and placing them in. So here you go, I'm putting in some of the dark area on the side of the grape, but I'm not pushing very hard. I'm starting light because I'm going to build up in layers. Also, grapes have that like hazy gray sort of area on the skin that's kind of cloudy, and I'm being careful not to go too dark because I want to be able to put that over some of the colors. So I've got a couple different shades of red, blue, and purple, and I'm layering them out here. I'm probably looking for another color pencil, which is why I stopped for a second, and there it is. So I've gone with a brighter red because I'm going to put that down underneath, and it will kind of shine through. So at the areas that are a little bright, I'm putting them in. There's the top of my head. Hello. And I'm working around the area that has a highlight and just laying in that sort of bright red. I'm using a burnt sienna pencil to draw out some of the stem and some more of the brighter parts of the grape here. And you see I kind of work all over the place on the one grape. I'll do some dark areas, some light areas. I try to work it all at once so that I don't finish one area first. And here I'm laying in more of the dark areas in the shadows. I am putting some yellow in there, even though it's not really a yellow area. I'm using that for brightness and for some of the undertones of yellow that I'm seeing as I draw. When I'm drawing, you can see, I hope you can see, I'm kind of blending with the end of the pencil, so there aren't very harsh lines. But sometimes on the edges, I'll use a more defined line, especially if there's a sharp edge, like the very edge of the grape, because I want to create that idea of roundness and the turning form. So I will kind of do a sharper line there. You can start to see the idea of the grape coming together just with the different layers that I'm adding. But I'm going to keep adding into that shadow area. And again, anywhere that there's a highlight or even that sort of grayish color, I'm trying not to touch that too much because I don't want to lose that white of the paper. A lot of times I would do this with watercolor first before I put in the colored pencil, and I will show you that technique because watercolor and colored pencils work really well together, because when you use watercolor you don't have to cover up all that white paper. Colored pencils can take a really long time because you just have to cover so much paper. If I was drawing that whole group of grapes, well, one grape took me about 20 minutes, so you could do the math. It would take me a pretty long time. So I'm adding to the dark side of my grape here, but I'm not just doing it in one color. I'm making sure to layer my colors to create interest and create depth. So you can see sometimes I'm using a sort of a blue color, sometimes I'm using the red, sometimes I'm using purple. All these different tones work together to give me a naturalistic look. I'm going in with some more yellow, back to the blue. And I try to add more details as I go. So when I start, I'm looking for big forms. And then as I get further into the drawing, I add more details. And actually right here, I'm starting to add the shadow. And it's really important that you don't ignore your background. I don't like to spend a lot of time just drawing with a white background. I like to put in whatever's going to be there. So I used some blue and some burnt sienna to start to make that shadow. And that will make the grape look a lot more realistic, having a shadow there. Going in and adding more. All right, so at this point, I think I'm going to speed it up a little bit more because that was most of the things I wanted to tell you about how to do this. So from this point on, I'm going to speed it up so you can see how I finish this drawing. Thanks for drawing with Mrs. Mills, and I'll see you next time.